So, on the Falcon, we were supposed to be going on that trip. It's supposed to be actually the weekend after this video comes out. And we had to cancel it because of the Genesis. With it burning up, I don't feel comfortable going right now. If it does happen, it'll be sometime next year. I don't know for sure. We may not do it at all. But what the trip was going to consist of was we were going to take the Falcon up the Natchez Trace and back. We're going to start in Natchez, go all the way up to Nashville, turn around and come right back down. We may end up doing it next year, but I don't know. But if we do it, it will not be with the original engine and transmission because it doesn't have anything in it. Not 100% sure what direction I'm in with the Falcon yet. I want to put something more reliable in it. I don't want to build a race car out of it, but something that will get, be able to keep up with traffic and, still get decent fuel mileage, and that we can just get in it, that me and my wife can get in it and drive and just go wherever we want to. But this video is just some footage I had of fixing, trying to change the valve seals in the 200. So, on the Falcon, it's using a lot of oil. I know it's leaking some, and it is smoking, but if you can tell, there's oil puddled up there, and then around the valve cover, it's wet all the way down. And I know, there's a bolt missing there. I want to see there's at least one more missing somewhere. I'm going to pull the valve cover off, actually clean it, and I'm going to go ahead and put some new valve seals in it as well. Just to try to, because I know after I've run it, if I kill it about 10 minutes, crank it back up again, it smokes real bad. It's normally valve seals, which as long as the motors sit without being cranked, I should have done it anyway, but I was just trying to get it running and going. But now that it's doing this, and then, with this long trip coming up, I want to go ahead and try to get that fixed so that I don't ruin the engine with, using the oil that bad. I don't want to hurt the engine because once it's done, it's done. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start pulling the valve cover off. Alright, so we got the valve cover off, and she's crusty, which I knew. I've already pulled the valve cover off once just to check everything before I cranked it the first time. Which everything does feel like the lifter is actually primed up real good, which, it doesn't rattle, so I kind of figured that. But we will be pulling this rocker arm shaft off and pulling the valve springs and all off. That way we can change the valve seals. I've got to get an adapter to screw in where the spark plug goes to put compressed air into it. That way it keeps the valves up. That way they don't drop down into the engine, because that would not be good. And I may try to clean some of this crud off of it while I've got it apart this time. But we'll see. Main thing is just changing those valve seals and then trying to get the valve cover to seal correctly to where it doesn't leak anymore. So, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but let's see. So that is the valve stem seal that is all tore apart. That is why it is smoking so bad. But I've got new valve stem seals on the way, and hopefully that'll help a lot. I mean, it's gonna smoke a little bit. It's 57 years old. I understand that. But as bad as those valve stem seals are, it is guzzling oil. Literally, on the 200-mile trip that I made a couple weeks ago, on that round trip I used 2 gallons of oil, which is ungodly amount of oil to use in that trip. Alright, so on the Falcon, I did get the tool I needed. So you basically just screw it in where the spark plug goes, and then you hook the air line up to it, and at that point it pressurizes the cylinder and the valves won't drop. That way you can compress the valve springs and get the keepers out, pull the valve spring off, take the old valve seal out, and put the new one in. Doing that, having that tool, you are also able to check for leaks, compression leaks basically. You have 3 different places it could come out, okay? So right now I don't hear any air coming out, so that cylinder has a good seal. If it sounds like it is coming out of the oil pan, then it's the rings leaking, which could be a broke ring, or the rings could be stuck in the piston. If it sounds like it's coming out of the carburetor or throttle body, you know, whatever engine, you know, whatever it has, basically coming out of the intake valve is not sealing. It could be bent, or just the seat couldn't be good. Same thing with the exhaust. If it sounds like it's coming out of the exhaust, you know, coming through the tailpipe and all, then it's going to be an exhaust valve leaking. You know, so that's something else that having that tool helps with. And this is the tool that I've got. I haven't used this one before. I've got different ones. This one here is what I use for my LS's. And then I've got another one around here somewhere that I use for like small blockheads. But this will be the first time using this style valve spring compressor. So we'll see how it does. But I feel like this is going to be fairly easy. So we're going to get started on it. What's left of the old valve stem seals. Some of them were still one piece, but they were all hard, so I don't think they were doing much. I am going to run through and do a compression check on all the cylinders just to see where it's at. But other than that, I got to get the valve cover back on and see if that helped with any of the oil consumption. I'm sure it did, some at least. I'll video this Bronco real quick.
everything that he doesn't want to fix got sent to me. You know, where they load up the cars.
I know where I did give $500. I got a 79, but I'll tell you what, you need to know what it is.
Right, yours is up there.
But we'll just keep up with the channel. I'll still be putting out videos once a week, every Saturday. So thanks for the support, and we'll keep stuff coming out for y'all.